JSC Russian Railways tr.Rossiyskie zheleznye dorogi is a Russian vertically integrated company, both managing infrastructure and operating freight and passenger train services. In 2012 it became one of the three largest transport companies in the world. The company was established on September 18, 2003, when a decree was passed to separate the railways from the Russian Ministry of the Means of Communication. Full name: Open Joint Stock Company Russian Railways, with headquarters in Moscow at Novaya Bazmenaya Street. 2. The operating units of the central part of the staff are at Kalashevskaya Street, 35. The president of the company is Oleg Belazarov since August 20, 2015. History: JSC Russian Railways was established by Decision 585 of the Government of the Russian Federation dated September 18, 2003. On October 1, 2003, the company took over the management functions of the rail networks from the Ministry of Railways of the Russian Federation, leaving the state regulation to Mr. RZD got 987 companies out of the 2046 that had formed the Mr. system. The reform saw the creation of a new market segment following the privatization of the network's rolling stock. The company divided the bulk of its wagon fleet between two new operating companies, Freight 1 and Freight 2, and private players such as Globaltrans also entering the market. The reform of the railway sector in the mid-1990s, the profitability of MR's railage fell down to negative values, which became the reason for reforms. Soon after his inauguration, President Putin approved the idea of the railway reform program, according to which all business functions on the railway must be transferred to the joint stock company with 100% state involvement. The reforming of the railway sector in Russia started with the establishment of JSC Russian Railways, October 2003. The new company has received more than 95% of the assets under the Ministry of Transport and Communications of the Russian Federation. On October 28, 2011, the largest privatization transaction in the denationalization of the Russian railway industry took place at an auction held in Moscow. The joint stock company Freight 1, a subsidiary of Russian Railways, sold 75% of its shares minus 2 shares for 125.5 billion rubles to independent transport company owned by Vladimir Lizin. Thus, Lizin, as Russia's largest operator of rolling stock, got the control of a quarter of the freight market. On October 16, 2012, Russian Railways has completed competitive negotiations with potential buyers of the remaining 25% plus 1 share stake in JSC Freight 1. The best binding offer was received from the Independent Transport Company LLC. The assets were sold for 50 billion rubles. Mergers and acquisitions. In early November 2012, Russian Railways announced the purchase of 75% of the French logistics company Harveyqs. The total value of the transaction was €800 million, the seller being PSA Peugeot Citroën, the parent company of Harveyqs. On May 23, 2007, Russian Railways adopted a new corporate style which changed fundamentally the way the company presented itself visually to the outside world. The change of corporate identity underwent several stages during the 2007 to 2010 period. The final version of the logo was designed by BBDO Branding, also commissioned by BBDO Branding. The agency Harveyqs Design created a family of corporate fonts Russian Rail, consisting of 15 fonts. In the new company logo, sans serif Russian Rail grotesque medium was used. In 2008, the new logo of Russian Railways became a runner-up for the International Design Competition WOLDA 08 award. Owners and management. The Russian Federation is the founder and sole shareholder of JSC Russian Railways. On behalf of its shareholders, the powers are exercised by the government of the Russian Federation. It approves the president of the company, forms the board of directors annually and approves the annual reports. Kirill Andrusov is the chairman of the board of directors of JSC Russian Railways from September 2011. Before him, the position was occupied by Alexander Zhukov from July 20, 2004 to September 2011 and Viktor Kristenko from October 16, 2003 July 20, 2004. President of JSC Russian Railways is Vladimir Yakunin from June 14, 2005. Before him, Gennady Fedyev from September 23, 2003 June 14, 2005. Structure. Since 2008, as part of the structural reform of rail transport, with separation of the services infrastructure of transportation activity and the emergence of a competitive environment, Russian Railways has been transformed into a vertically oriented holding company. Activities. The main directions of the company's business: freight and passenger traffic. The share of railways in the total turnover of the transport system of Russia is about 42%. In passenger traffic, about 33%. In 2013, railways carried nearly 90% of Russia's freight, excluding pipelines. Tariff rates. For the period of monopoly of JSC Russian Railways in the federal transport system, the eligibility of rail services at regulated tariffs is guaranteed by the government and state. Freight tariffs. The cost of freight tariff is determined by the federal tariff service at net cost or higher. Fares on long-distance trains. Passenger tariffs are approved by the state, represented by the Federal Tariff Service with social orientation of its traffic operations below cost. Passenger fare is divided into two components: ticket and reserved seat. Since 2003, the flexible schedule tariffs to travel on long-distance trains is used. In the period of keen demand, the rate is above the annual average by 5 to 20%. Approximately the third part of the year, the base rate is active. During the periods of low passengers traffic, the rate is lower by 5 to 20%. On certain days of the year, the index of 45 to 50% is valid when tickets are twice cheaper. FSD is calculated in such a way as to stimulate passengers to undertake a trip on the date with the lowest index. In 2010 and 2011, the average weighted index for calendar periods was 0.97 and the average volume of passenger traffic 1.00. According to the JSC Russian Railways statement, the passenger transportation, except for some highly profitable directions, is unprofitable. These losses are partly compensated from the budget and for the most part, with the help of cross-subsidies by income from freight. See also the competition and tariff regulation of the rail market and railway assets in Russia. Suburban passenger complex. Since 2009, the company is not a direct carrier of passengers. The suburban traffics are exercised by the passenger companies founded by the executive agencies of the Russian Federation, Russian Railways and private investors. These are such companies as JSC SPPK, LLC Aero Express, JSC CSPC and so on. By 2012, the number of SPCs in Russia has reached 26. Especially for the SPC, a zero tariff for the use of railway infrastructure was introduced. Russian Railways receives 25 billion rubles subsidies as compensation annually from the state. Commuter traffic in the whole network increased in 2011 on 5.6% and is about 878.33 million people. Passenger turnover rail in the Russian regions ranges from 5% to 30% in total passenger traffic. Performance indicators. Annually, JSC Russian Railways carries over 1 billion passengers and 1 billion ton of freight. In 2011, freight traffic of Russian railways totaled about 1.4 billion tons. Passenger traffic for the year 2011 reached 992.4 million people. The average salary on the network in October 2011, 31,000 rubles a month. Loading volume for the year 2012 amounted to 1,274.7 million tons. The share in the total turnover of the country, 85.5%. In 2012, the network carried 1 billion 56.7 million passengers. Net income from the basic activities using Russian GAAP was in 2012 almost 5.3 billion rubles, which is a decrease compared to 2011 of almost 3 times. Infrastructure. As at December 31, 2009, the total operational kilometers of railway is 85,281 kilometers, including the track gauge of 1,520 millimeters to 84,446 kilometers. The length of continuous welded rails 74.4 thousand kilometers. The railway network operated by 166,975 switches, 138 tunnels and 30,727 bridges. The length of lines equipped with automatic block and centralized control is 62,055 kilometers, or 72.9%. Devices of railway automation and remote control on the Russian railway network served with 203 distance signaling, centralization and blocking, and with one technical center of automation and remote control. Rolling stock railways. Traction rolling stock includes diesel locomotives, electric trains, diesel trains, rail cars, railway hand car, other self-propelled equipment and non-tractive rolling stock, different cars and a special rolling stock. At the end of 2009, the inventory rolling stock of RZD contained 2,101 locomotives, including 209 electric passenger locomotives, 536 diesel passenger locomotives, 417 electric freight locomotives, 350 diesel freight locomotives, 589 movable locomotives. Service life has expired of 796 electric passenger locomotives, 523 electric freight locomotives, 876 mainline locomotives and 1896 movable locomotives. Investment program. The volume of investment of JSC Russian Railways in 2012 reached 460.1 billion rubles. In 2009, the investment budget was 262.8 billion rubles, of which 47.4 billion projects related to the preparation and staging of the Olympic Games in Sochi. 58.7 billion renovation of the rolling stock. Priority is given to the financing of projects that have received targeted funding and support of the government. Combined road-Adler mountain resort Harveyqs service, 41.5 billion rubles. The purchase of products of JSC TVER carriage works, 3.0 billion rubles. Construction of a new railway section Yeva-Solikamsk-Sverdlovsk line bypassing the area of man-made industrial disaster, 6.0 billion rubles. for account of the funds received from the additional indexation of freight tariffs by an average of 1% in 2009. The following projects were funded: the organization of intermodal transport on the line of Sochi-Adler Airport, Sochi, strengthening the infrastructure of the railway line Tuapse-Adler, organization of freight yards to gain admission to the Olympic construction goods. The main projects of the investment program 2012 to 2014, acceleration to 2014, the passenger traffic on the line Moscow-Adler and the line service between Rostov and Krasnodar to 2015, implementation of the joint project of Siemens AG and the Ekaterinburg on delivery and localization of high-speed electric stock, organization of intermodal station on the Kazan, the international airport Kazan route, speeding up of the development of the railway infrastructure of the Moscow transport hub. The main producer of passenger cars is TVER Carriage Works Railways. The following railways belong to RZD: Russia, Kaliningrad Railway, October Railway, Moscow Railway, Gorky Railway, Southeastern Railway, North Caucasus Railway, Crimea Railway, Volga Railway, Kybyshev Railway, South Urals Railway, Northern Railway, Sverdlovsk Railway, West Siberian Railway, Krasnoyarsk Railway, East Siberian Railway, Transbaikal Railway, Far Eastern Railway, Abkhazia-Abkhazian Railway, Armenia South Caucasus Railway. Future projects. According to the 2011 JSC RZD annual report, the company plans to invest over 2.2 trillion rubles until 2020 to upgrade and expand the network infrastructure. 7 priority infrastructure development projects were allocated. These are approaches to the ports of the south of Russia, an approach to the ports of the northwest Russia, infrastructure in western Siberia, and north of the Urals Federal District, Trans-Siberian Railway, Baikal-Amur Main Line, Mizhdurechensk, Abakhan, Taishay Station, the Moscow Railway Hub. The company recognizes that it has not sufficient funding for the major projects plan, and the cost of borrowing in the bond market does not allow to implement infrastructure projects with positive financial results and return on investment. Planned projects: Project HSM-1, separate railway line between Moscow and St. Petersburg. The expected speed of HSM-1 is up to 400 km per hour. The estimated time en route between Moscow and St. Petersburg will not exceed 2.5 hours. The preparation project for HMS-1 to international tender performed by JSC High-Speed Highway. Presentation of the project at the International Market of Infrastructure Providers took place in the first half of 2011. In plans, reconstruction, electrification and the organization of passenger traffic in the small ring in Moscow. For this project, on June 23, 2011, Russian Railways jointly with the Moscow government founded CIT, a company with a registered capital of 5 billion rubles. The start of the passenger traffic, as announced by the Moscow government, will be September 2015. Total investments are 85.9 billion rubles, of which the share of JSC Russian Railways is 38.5 billion rubles. The Trans-Eurasian Belt development. In March 2015, at a meeting of the Russian Academy of Science, Vladimir Yakunin presented an ambitious new transport route called the Trans-Eurasian Belt development, which would go through Russia with a mega road and high-speed rail network to link Asia with Europe, and with the opportunity to go to Chukotka and Bering Strait and then to the American continent, to Alaska, making overland trips from Britain to the US a possibility. Subsidies. In total, Russian Railways receives 112 billion rubles annually from the government. High-speed traffic. In 2005 to 2010, JSC Russian Railways has launched a program to introduce new high-speed trains. The first train launched, Sapsan-P, connects St. Petersburg, Moscow and Nizhny Novgorod. The second train, Allegro, has run from December 2010 from St. Petersburg to Helsinki via the city of Vyborg. Peregrine Falcon was the most successful passenger train of JSC Russian Railways, with occupancy rate of 84.5% and profitability of 30%. Sponsorship. Since February 2016, Russian Railways is the sponsor of world.The from Kyiv, a team in the Russian Bandy Super League.